The darkest dawn. The mining colony on Titan had been operational for 15 years when everything changed. Director Maria Chen watched the sunrise over Saturn's rings from her office window, sipping synthetic coffee while reviewing production reports. The colony housed 8,000 people, mostly miners and their families living in pressurized domes beneath the orange methane clouds. It was Thursday, March 15, 2157, and it started like any other day. Then the proximity alarm screamed. Operations Chief David Kumar burst through her door without knocking. "Director, we have multiple contacts emerging from hyperspace. 37 vessels, unknown configuration." His dark eyes reflected a fear Maria had never seen in the veteran spacer. "They're not responding to any of our protocols." Maria rushed to the command center, her boots clicking against the metal floor. The main screen showed ships unlike anything in Earth's database. They were crystalline, catching and refracting, light in impossible ways, each one the size of a city block. They moved with organic fluidity, ignoring the laws of physics that constrained human vessels. "Have you contacted Earth Command?" Maria asked, though she already knew the answer from Kumar's expression. "Communications are being jammed. We can't get through to anyone beyond Titan orbit." Kumar's fingers danced across his console. "Wait, I'm picking up a transmission from the lead vessel." The screen flickered, revealing a creature that would haunt humanity's nightmares for generations. The Kraxon stood 9 feet tall, its body covered in chitinous plates that shifted color like oil on water. 6 eyes arranged in a hexagonal pattern stared without blinking. When it spoke, the translator struggled with the alien syntax. "Species designation, human. Your expansion ends today. Your worlds will feed our growth. Resistance brings suffering. Submission brings swift termination." Before anyone could respond, the transmission cut off. The crystalline ships began to glow with an inner fire. Maria grabbed the colony-wide communication system. "All personnel, emergency evacuation protocol 7. This is not a drill. Repeat. This is not a drill." She turned to Kumar. "How many shuttles can we launch?" 12 operational, but, Director, they can't outrun. The first blast hit the main dome, the reinforced structure, designed to withstand meteor impacts and radiation storms, cracked like an eggshell. Atmosphere rushed out into Titan's toxic environment. Screams echoed through the corridors as people scrambled for emergency suits. Engineer Sarah Mitchell was in the lower mines when the attack began. The 32-year-old had moved to Titan to escape Earth's crowds, seeking adventure among the stars. Now she found herself leading 40 miners through collapsing tunnels as explosions shook the moon's surface. "Keep moving," she shouted over the chaos. "The emergency bunker is just ahead." They made it to the reinforced shelter just as the main mining shaft collapsed behind them. Sarah sealed the heavy doors and did a quick head count. 41 souls, including herself. The bunker had supplies for a month, but she doubted they had that long. Above them, Maria Chen made the hardest decision of her life. 3 shuttles had launched successfully, carrying 900 people. The rest were trapped or dead. She stood in the auxiliary command center watching the Kraxon ships systematically destroy everything humanity had built on Titan. "Director, I'm picking up scattered transmissions from Earth," Kumar said, his voice hollow. "They're under attack too. New York, Beijing, Mumbai. They're all gone." Maria felt her legs weaken but forced herself to remain standing. Earth, with its population of 12 billion, was being destroyed. The birthplace of humanity, the blue marble that had nurtured their species for millions of years, was burning. The transmissions painted a picture of unimaginable devastation. The Kraxon had appeared simultaneously in orbit around Earth, Mars, and the outer colonies. Their weapons cut through Earth's defense grid like it was paper. Admiral Jonathan Price, commanding Earth's orbital defense platform, managed to send out one final message before his station was vaporized. They knew exactly where to hit us. This was planned. God help us all. On Earth's surface, the destruction was methodical and merciless. The Kraxon targeted population centers first, then infrastructure, then military installations. They wanted humanity broken, scattered, unable to mount any organized resistance. In the ruins of London, Captain James Walker of the Royal Space Force watched alien ground troops march through the streets. The Kraxan warriors stood twice as tall as humans, their crystalline armor deflecting conventional weapons. They hunted, survivors with patient efficiency, using some kind of bioscanner that could detect human life signs through walls and rubble. Walker had gathered 300 survivors in an old subway tunnel, hoping the depth in the old rail line's metal would mask their presence. Among them was Dr. Rachel Morrison, a xenobiologist who had spent her career dreaming of first contact. This wasn't the meeting of minds she had imagined. "Captain, I've been analyzing their attack patterns," she whispered, her tablet showing a map marked with red zones. "They're not just destroying us. They're harvesting something. Every area they clear, they deploy these devices." She showed him footage from a damaged security camera. Massive machines were processing rubble and bodies, extracting something. "Harvesting what?" Walker asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. "Carbon. Specifically, the carbon in our bodies. We're not just being conquered, Captain. We're being collected as raw materials." The thought sent a chill through Walker that had nothing to do with the tunnel's temperature. Humanity wasn't even considered worthy of slavery. They were simply resources to be processed. Back on Titan, Sarah Mitchell had managed to establish communication with other bunkers. 1,700 survivors scattered across the moon's surface, hiding in emergency shelters and mine shafts. The Kraxan had moved on, leaving Titan's colony, in ruins but not bothering to hunt down every survivor. They had bigger targets. Days turned into weeks. The survivors on Titan watched helplessly as Earth's transmissions grew weaker and less frequent. The last official broadcast from Earth Command came 23 days after the first attack. General Patricia Hayes, speaking from an undisclosed bunker, delivered humanity's epitaph. "To any humans listening, Earth has fallen. Estimated casualties exceed 10 billion. The Kraxan have taken our world, but they have not taken our spirit. Remember us, remember what they did, and if you survive, make them regret the day they struck Earth first." The transmission ended with static. In the Titan bunker, Sarah Mitchell looked at the faces around her. Miners, engineers, families who had come to space for a better life. Their eyes reflected the same thought she was having. The Kraxan had made a mistake. They had left survivors. They had left witnesses. "We're going to make them pay," she said quietly. The others nodded. It wasn't bravado or false hope. It was a promise. Cold and certain as space itself, humanity had been brought to its knees, but it had not been destroyed. In bunkers and hidden shelters across the solar system, survivors began to plan. They had lost their world, their families, their entire civilization. But they had gained something else, a singular purpose that would unite every surviving human. The Kraxan had struck first, dealing what they believed was a killing blow. They had harvested Earth like a field of wheat, processed its people like ore. They had demonstrated that the universe was cruel and unforgiving, that might made right, that the strong consumed the weak. They were about to learn that humanity had its own lessons to teach. The Phoenix Rising 5 years had passed since the Kraxan devastation. The hidden human settlement on Europa, Jupiter's ice moon, had grown from 300 survivors to nearly 3,000. They called it Haven, though the name was both hope and bitter irony. Commander Sarah Mitchell, formerly an engineer on Titan, now led humanity's military remnant. The mines she once managed had been replaced by weapon forges. The families she once protected had become soldiers. The transformation hadn't been easy or without cost. In those first desperate months after Earth's fall, humanity had nearly destroyed itself through despair. Suicide rates among survivors reached epidemic levels until Dr. Rachel Morrison, who had escaped Earth on one of the last evacuation shuttles, implemented mandatory counseling and purpose-driven work assignments. Every survivor from age 15 to 70 had a role in the revenge they were crafting. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. 12-year-old Timothy Chen, son of a former colony administrator, had been playing in a damaged Kraxan scout ship that had crashed on Europa during a reconnaissance mission. The Kraxan had deemed it irreparable and abandoned it. Timothy, with the curiosity only a child possessed, had managed to activate one of its secondary systems. "Mom, look." The pretty lights follow my thoughts, he had called out, his small hands touching the crystalline control interface. The ship's systems had interfaced directly with his neural patterns, something Earth scientists had tried and failed to achieve with human technology. Dr. Morrison had immediately quarantined the ship and began the most important research project in human history. The Kraxan technology wasn't just advanced. It was fundamentally different from anything humans had conceived. It operated on principles that merged consciousness with quantum mechanics, using crystalline matrices that grew and adapted rather than being built. Within 6 months, Morrison's team had made a startling discovery. Human neuroplasticity, the very trait that allowed their species to adapt to any environment, made them uniquely suited to interface with Kraxan technology. More suited, in fact, than the Kraxan themselves. Where the aliens required years of training to pilot their vessels, humans could master the basics in weeks. Commander Mitchell stood in Haven's war room, looking at the holographic display of their growing fleet. 23 Kraxan vessels, all salvaged and repaired, all improved with human modifications. Report, Captain Rodriguez. Captain Miguel Rodriguez, who had been a commercial freight pilot before the war, now commanded humanity's first hybrid warship. The Nemesis is fully operational, Commander. We've integrated the pulse cannons from the destroyed Mars defense platform with the Kraxan shield matrix. The aliens never expected their own technology to be used against them, so they have no countermeasures. The room held 20 of humanity's surviving military leaders, scientists, and strategists. Each had lost everything to the Kraxan. Each had channeled their grief into purpose. Dr. Morrison, what's the status on Project Pandora? Mitchell asked. The xenobiologist, her once cheerful face now marked by years of grim determination, activated her display. The bioweapon is ready. The Kraxan's crystalline biology, which makes them nearly invulnerable to conventional weapons, has a fatal flaw. They're essentially living semiconductors. The electromagnetic virus we've developed will override their neural processes, causing complete systemic failure within minutes. Casualties? Mitchell asked. 100% fatality rate for any Kraxan exposed. No cure, no immunity possible. Morrison's voice held no emotion. The woman who had once dreamed of peaceful first contact had become humanity's deadliest weapon designer. Admiral Viktor Petrov, one of the few surviving Earth fleet officers, raised a concern. Commander, we've confirmed the location of 3 Kraxan harvest worlds. Our intelligence suggests they're processing resources from 17 conquered species, not just humans. If we attack, we might be able to rally other survivors. No, Mitchell said firmly. We can't risk exposure until we're ready for a total strike. The Kraxan still believe humanity is extinct. That's our only advantage. She activated the main display, showing a massive structure being assembled in Europa's hidden shipyards. Project Phoenix will be ready in 3 months. Then we remind the universe that humanity doesn't die easily. Project Phoenix was humanity's masterpiece of revenge. Using salvaged Kraxan technology, human engineering, and the resources stripped from Jupiter's moons, they had built something unprecedented. It was part battleship, part carrier, part biological weapon delivery system. Most importantly, it could replicate itself using any available materials, a trait borrowed and improved from Kraxan technology. Lieutenant Marcus Thompson, barely 20 but already a veteran of 17 reconnaissance missions, entered the war room. Commander, urgent intelligence from the Kraxan home system. The display shifted to show Kraxos Prime, the crystalline world that served as the heart of their empire. Massive structures orbited the planet, processing ships that brought resources from conquered worlds. The population was estimated at 40 billion. They're celebrating. Thompson continued, his voice tight with controlled anger. Today marks the 5th anniversary of what they call the Great Harvesting. Earth's conquest is being commemorated as their most efficient resource extraction. The room fell silent. Then Captain Lisa Park, who had lost her husband and 3 children in Sol's destruction, spoke with deadly calm. They celebrate our genocide. Let them celebrate, Mitchell replied. It will be their last festival. The months that followed saw humanity transform from survivors into something the galaxy had never seen. They didn't just adopt Kraxan technology. They improved it, combined it with human innovation, and created weapons the Kraxan couldn't imagine. Where the aliens relied on overwhelming force, humans employed deception, adaptation, and psychological warfare. The first strike came without warning. A single human operative, Lieutenant Jennifer Walsh, had infiltrated a Kraxan supply station by using their own cloaking technology against them. She introduced the electromagnetic virus into their communication network. Within hours, 17,000 Kraxan across 3 systems were dead, their crystalline bodies shattered from within. The Kraxan response was immediate and panicked. They had never faced an enemy that could use their own technology against them. Their entire military doctrine was based on technological superiority. Now that advantage was gone. Admiral Petrov led the first fleet engagement near Neptune. 30 Kraxan warships against 8 human vessels. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, the human fleet remained intact while debris from 30 Kraxan ships drifted through space. The humans had used tactics no Kraxan would consider. Ramming attacks, false surrenders, and weapon overloads that turned their own ships into massive bombs. But the true masterstroke was psychological. Every Kraxan communication channel was flooded with a single message, broadcast in their own language. You struck Earth first. Now Earth strikes back. There will be no mercy, as there was none for us. The Kraxan, who had conquered 17 species without significant resistance, found themselves facing something unprecedented. Humans didn't fight for territory or resources. They fought for vengeance. They didn't seek to conquer. They sought to annihilate. Commander Mitchell stood on the bridge of the Phoenix, humanity's flagship as it emerged from hyperspace near Kraxos Prime. Behind it, 300 vessels of the human fleet appeared, each one a testament to human ingenuity and determination. Many were Kraxan ships captured and improved. Others were entirely human designs that defied conventional physics. Open a channel to Kraxos Prime, Mitchell ordered. The Kraxan Supreme Hierarchs appeared on screen, their 6 eyes wide with what humans had learned to recognize as fear. This is impossible. Humans were harvested. The species was terminated. You killed our world, Mitchell said simply. You murdered 10 billion innocent people. You turned our children into resources. You celebrated our extinction. She paused. Humanity has a saying, be careful when you strike a giant. If you don't kill it, it will rise with terrible vengeance. We offer negotiation, the hierarchs said desperately. Resources, technology, worlds. You offer nothing we won't take anyway, Mitchell cut them off. You taught us the universe's true law. The strong consume the weak. Thank you for the lesson. The battle for Kraxos Prime lasted 6 days. The Kraxan fought with desperate fury, but they faced an enemy they couldn't understand. Humans sacrificed themselves willingly, ramming their ships into Kraxan defenses. They used strategies that defied logic, accepting casualties that would have broken any other species. They fought not like a military, but like a force of nature. When the electromagnetic virus was deployed in Kraxos Prime's atmosphere, the dying began. 40 billion Kraxan, their crystalline bodies shattering like glass, their consciousness fragmenting into nothing. The humans watched without emotion. This wasn't cruelty. It was justice. This wasn't genocide. It was retribution. In the aftermath, as Kraxos Prime burned and the Kraxan Empire collapsed, other species began to emerge from hiding. The Altarians, the Vegan Collective, the Cetian Alliance, all had suffered under Kraxan rule. They looked at humanity with a mixture of awe and fear. Commander Sarah Mitchell, now Admiral of the United Human Fleet, stood before the Galactic Assembly that formed in the wake of the Kraxan fall. Representatives from 23 species watched as she spoke. Humanity seeks no empire. We want no conquests. We will return to Earth and rebuild our world. But let this be known across the galaxy. Earth remembers. Strike us and we strike back harder. Destroy our cities and we will destroy your worlds. Kill our children and we will end your species. She paused, looking at each representative. We offer peace and trade to all who approach us in friendship. But to those who come with weapons, she smiled and several representatives visibly shuddered. Remember the Kraxan. The galaxy had learned a terrible lesson. Humanity, pushed to the brink of extinction, had not broken. They had transformed into something harder than diamond, more implacable than death itself. They had taken the worst the universe could offer and turned it into fuel for their resurrection. Earth was reclaimed within a year. The planet was scarred but not dead. Using Kraxan terraforming technology improved with human innovation, the survivors began to rebuild. Cities rose from the ashes. Forests grew from the wastelands and oceans cleared of toxins. The population would take generations to recover, but humanity would endure. The memorial built at the site of former New York bore a simple inscription. They struck first. We struck last. Never forget, never again. And across the galaxy in 100 different languages, a new phrase entered common usage. Never strike Earth first.